This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the executive chairman for TinOne Resources, Mr. Chris Donaldson. Chris, always a pleasure to speak with people I enjoy speaking with. How are you?
Hi, Gerardo. I'm great, man. It's good to chat with you, and been certainly quite busy here, but it's good to have a story here that we're trying to get out, and that people seem to be gravitating to.
Let's talk about it because this is a unique story to our audience, and a couple of things stand out to me. One is the quality of the portfolio. Two, the quality of the team, and not just, management, but board and advisors. It's a who's who of quality people. And then three, I love that modern approach to exploration that you're taking that really helps de-risk a lot of the risks that's just inherent in the exploration business. And so I'd love to start with a bit of your background, and then let's talk about the team, and then we can dive right in.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I've been in the capital markets for 25 years or so, and on a number of boards. Joined up with the Inventa Capital Group, I guess about 2 or 3 years ago now. And Inventa Capital, of course, headed by Craig Perry, who many people would know from his time. He was a founder of NextGen and chairman of Skeena Resources and Diesel Resources and a number of other companies. He and Mike Connert started a company which is putting out some pretty good new projects, and one of them being TinOne, and Tin is a market that I didn't really know much about, but is certainly one of the most interesting markets out there right now. So happy to join up with that group, and happy to be launching TinOne here.
Let's talk about why tin. You said it's not a market that you knew a lot of, but obviously you were excited to kind of take the lead and run with it on this one. Tell me a bit about the portfolio and what attracted you to the assets and tin in particular.
Yeah, so I mean, why don't we start with the tin market? I mean, it's a relatively small market. I mean, I was 10 years with a company called Western Copper and Gold, and talking on the about copper, and always talking about the supply and demand issues that were coming. And we're starting to see that now. And tin has basically similar fundamentals on there. There's a real supply and demand problem in the market here, and it's that squeeze has happened and it's happening. The tin price itself hit an all-time high about 4 months ago. It's since pulled back from then. But what's happening in there is on the supply side, almost all the tin in the world is coming from emerging companies and maybe dubious countries, Indonesia, DRC, Myanmar, and also China. And those countries are, not only, are their environmental standards not great, but many of them are restricting the export of the material because it's a critical raw material. The use of it is 50% is used in all kinds of electrification. It's considered the glue that holds batteries together and so on. So there's, that demand is increasing certainly, and is projected to increase over the next many years, kind of 2 to 4%. And it's a small, market in terms of the number of companies that are out there. And it's even smaller in the number of companies that have projects in good areas, tier 1 areas. And more you're hearing from the Teslas of the world, looking at the chain of supply and where it comes from. So when we had the opportunity to acquire these projects, which actually we the group was able to get them 3 to 5 years ago in a good jurisdiction like Australia and more specifically in Tasmania in Australia, we jumped on it. And so we're in an area or in an industry that has moments where there's an absolute squeeze on it. So tin itself is one of the most cyclical of all the metals. And we saw that 6 months ago. There was a squeeze and we got up to 50,000 a ton. We've pulled back over the last few months, but the long-term trajectory is certainly positive. So it's a good space. It's one where when times are going well, it gets quite a bit of excitement, and so we're working right now to just advance the couple projects that we have.
Tell me what comes next as far as advancing those projects. You mentioned that, excellent jurisdiction, which is becoming more and more critical moving forward, not just for exploration and development, but if you're ever actually going to build a mine and hope to feed supply into that market, you better be in a jurisdiction that supports that. And that's evolving by the day, right? Tell me a bit about the projects and the focus and what comes next as far as developing and exploring.
Yeah, so we have two main projects, and the one that we're working on first is called Great Pyramid. It's in Tasmania, and in a great area of Tasmania. It's an area that previously was forested. It's said that it's actually the regulations are such that it's reserved for future commercial use. So if you're putting a lens on, is this something that can be built? It's certainly in a very favorable area for that. In Great Pyramid itself, we're not starting from scratch. It had a historic resource on it of about 10,000 tons at 1%. Presumably, 0.2%, I should say on that. And presumably it would be an open pit. And so what we're doing is drilling out and proving the historic resource, and also tapping into newer areas and going deeper than what the previous drilling had performed. And this project and our other one that I'll talk about is it basically was moving along, advancing quite well, and then in the mid 80s when the tin price collapsed under 5,000 a ton, work on it just kind of stopped. So we just finished our financing, so we've got some cash. We've been drilling for the last 4 months or so, and we're real close to releasing our first set of results, and I'm hoping to have those out in the next week or two, which really will kind of show people what we have and the potential of the Great Pyramid deposit.
Tell me about the other project. I know it's multiple quality assets in the portfolio.
Yeah, and Great Pyramid, the goal in that is to really, get that up to a certain size, and that will underpin the value of the company. But while we're doing that, we're working on another project called Aberfoyle. And Aberfoyle is a historic tin district, and it produced over 2 million tons at about 1%. And what the old timers were doing there was just chasing these high grade veins, and they were quite successful at it, but they never did any modern exploration. So they haven't done any kind of long-term planning, any field mapping, soil sampling, and so forth. So we're doing all that work now. The idea is that we'll work on Great Pyramid in the short term here, and get it to a certain state that we can potentially put out a resource on it, and then we'll have Aberfoyle set up with drill targets and be able to shift our focus onto that once we finish that Great Pyramid.
We love being early to stories and introducing stories to an audience at attractive entry points. Got to bring up the market cap. I know that directors and management and advisors own close to 40% of the stock, if I'm not mistaken. Where's your market cap at right now, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, we're sub 10 million right now. So, I mean, we're really, really early stage in terms of the growth of the company. But our projects are in early stage. They're historic projects, and one that had previous resources on it. So I think we should have some new re-ratings here once we get out into the market with our first bit of results. One thing Gerardo, that was pretty interesting. We just recently joined the International Tin Association, and we were the 10th company to join in the explore and development category. So, one thing that's interesting about the tin market is it's very, very small. There are very few companies out there that are advancing primary tin projects. So if you take nothing from my conversation here, is that we're in the top 10 explorer developers in the tin space. But why is that a benefit? Well, there are a couple of companies who've done really well over the last couple of years, and the one that gets a lot of attention is one called Alphamin. It's a producer out of the DRC. The people who have invested in that have all done quite well, so if they're looking to get into a new story, there are very few to choose from. There are even fewer that are in good jurisdictions. So I think we're in a very good spot to see some real growth from where our market cap is right now. I mean, obviously the market's down a little bit, but once we get out there and start telling the story and able to really prove value that we have in our Great Pyramid project, I think the story is going to resonate.
Chris, you have a tiny market cap. You have some very advanced projects that have seen, historic mining and exploration. You have a quality team. I love the skin in the game. And, best of all, you're not just sitting around waiting for a better market. You're actually defining targets and have assays pending and drilling coming up. So all those factors check a lot of boxes for me. I'm looking forward to catching back up. And for anyone that's out at Beaver Creek, touch base with Chris and I will be out there. Say hello if you see us. Anything to add to that, Chris?
Yeah, I look forward to chatting with you in the next couple of weeks here once we get our first bit of results out. I guess one other thing to mention, we just got our OTCQB listing for our American friends. It makes it easier for them to trade. Our symbol is TORCF, I believe. So, so that's some news that came out today.
Good stuff. Chris, pleasure as always. We'll catch up again soon. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Gerardo.
Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.